buried in time. For 50,000 years, the tomb had remained undisturbed. It was no ordinary burial site. Deep beneath the surface of Valkyrie Prime, beneath its shifting sands and storm-racked skies, an ancient structure lay hidden. A vault, forged from a metal that had no name in any alien tongue. For generations, the Velcran people had feared it. They whispered of the sleeping god. They carved warnings into their holy stones. And they swore, on their very ancestors, that no one would ever break the seal. But time erodes all fears. Curiosity overcomes all taboos. And greed knows no master. The Velcran Archaeovault Consortium, a faction of reckless treasure hunters, had come seeking relics. Their scanning probes had found something massive beneath the dunes. Something old. Something forgotten. They dug. And the tomb awakened. The awakening. The chamber was massive, an expanse of obsidian walls stretching beyond the reach of their lanterns. Symbols ancient and unreadable, pulsed with an eerie glow. At the heart of the chamber stood a sarcophagus. A colossal construct of seamless black metal, adorned with a single terrifying insignia. A sigil of earth. The Velcran scholars didn't recognize it. But someone else did. Someone who had been watching. The moment their hands touched the sarcophagus, the tomb reacted. A deafening hum filled the air, rattling their bones. Machines, long dormant, stirred. Then, the sarcophagus split apart with a sound like grinding mountains. A hand emerged. Flesh? No, more. A figure stepped forward, tall and impossibly strong. A humanoid form, clad in a black warsuit of impossible design, lined with golden circuits that pulsed with a heartbeat of their own. The Velcran stumbled back, fear gripping them like a vice. Their leader, a grizzled exohistorian named Kaldrath, raised a trembling hand. "What are you?" The figure raised its head. And then, it spoke. A voice like thunder. Like the echoes of war itself. Human. Silence. Then the tomb truly came to life. Behind him, more figures rose from the abyss. The army that should not exist. One by one they emerged. Not men. Not machines. Something beyond both. Sleeper soldiers. They stepped forward in perfect unison, their eyes glowing with the cold fire of restored purpose. Velcran weaponry was ancient, crude compared to the unknowable technology that hummed to life before them. Their pulse rifles trembled in their hands, useless in the face of what had just woken up. One soldier turned to the first human. "Orders, Commander?" The Velcran fell to their knees. They did not understand the words. But they understood what had come upon them. A conqueror had returned. An army had risen. And this world was no longer theirs. The echoes of war. The Velcran cities awoke to terror. From the depths of the forgotten tomb, something moved. Something that should have remained buried. A human, ancient beyond reckoning, stood upon their world with an army at his back. War was coming. And the Velcran knew one thing. They would not survive what came next. A forgotten commander returns. The desert winds howled as the human commander stood atop the ancient tomb, his glowing eyes scanning the alien city sprawled in the distance. He could see it clearly even from miles away, Valkyrie Prime's capital, Corvathus. Once a jewel of the Velcran people. Now it was a target. His mind, ancient yet sharp as a blade, processed the situation. 50,000 years had passed. His memories were fragments, echoes of a war long forgotten by the universe, but not by him. Not by the army that had risen beside him. "Status report," he ordered. A tall soldier, clad in the same black warsuit, snapped to attention. The visor of his helmet flickered as information scrolled across it. Systems nominal. Battle AI interfaces online. Combat capabilities at 87% efficiency. The commander nodded. A slight degradation but still more than enough. He turned to the cowering Velcran archaeologists. One of them, the elder named Kaldrath, trembled as he tried to speak. "We did not mean to wake you," Kaldrath stammered. "We only sought knowledge. Please we." The commander's gaze bore into him. 50,000 years, he said, his voice carrying the weight of entire civilizations. "What species commands this world now?" Kaldrath hesitated. "To the Velcran," he said. "We rule this system. We are." Boom. A deep, resonant explosion shook the ground beneath them. From the skies above, Velcran warships roared toward the tomb, their engines burning bright against the dying sun. Their weapons glowed hot, charging. They had come to erase their mistake. But they had already lost. The gods of war walk again. "Commander," the soldier at his side said, his voice unshaken. "Enemy approaching." Velcran strike teams inbound. The human commander did not move. Instead, he turned his gaze skyward toward the warships descending upon them. Inside those ships, Velcran warriors readied themselves. They had fought countless battles before. They had repelled invasions, crushed rebellions, expanded their empire. But none of them had ever faced an enemy like this. None of them had ever seen humans. And none of them would live to tell the tale. The commander raised a hand. A single word escaped his lips. Engage. The first strike. The sky ignited. Velcran warships unleashed a storm of plasma fire, raining down like an artificial meteor shower. The desert trembled, explosions sending shockwaves in every direction. For a moment the sky burned. And then, they moved. The sleeper army, silent, precise, vanished in an instant. Their suits, designed for war in the void, adapted to the battlefield in microseconds. They blinked, teleporting across the battlefield with inhuman speed. One soldier landed inside a Velcran ship before its crew could react. One shot. One kill. The entire bridge was silenced. Elsewhere, 2 more soldiers ripped through the hull of a gunship, crushing its engines with their bare hands before disappearing back into the dust. The Velcran fleet, so sure of its power, was being systematically dismantled before they even understood what was happening. The commander watched as his soldiers erased the enemy with cold precision. Too slow, he muttered. Then he moved. A nightmare made flesh. In a blur of motion, the commander crossed the battlefield in a heartbeat. The largest Velcran warship had begun retreating, realizing far too late the scope of their mistake. The commander leaped. Gravity bent around him. He landed on the hull of the ship with the force of a comet. The entire warship lurched, metal screaming in protest. Inside, Velcran officers screamed orders, ordering emergency maneuvers, deploying drones, anything to dislodge the impossible nightmare that had landed upon them. The commander walked forward. Every step dented the hull. Every breath sent shudders through their ship. The Velcran gunners aimed every weapon at him. It wouldn't matter. He ripped through the hull like it was paper. He entered the ship. And inside, the massacre began. The end of Valkyrie Prime. The battle did not last long. It was never a battle to begin with. The Velcran thought they were warriors. They thought they had power. But they had simply forgotten what true war looked like. They had forgotten humans. By the time the sun set, Corvathis burned. The empire of the Velcran fell in a single night. And at its center, standing amongst the ruins, was a man who should not exist. His army stood with him, waiting for his next command. His purpose, still unknown. And in the silence, the commander whispered a name that had been buried beneath the sands of time. Terra. The forgotten world. The war was far from over. The last echo of Terra. The smoke of Valkyrie Prime's burning capital coiled into the sky, a black wound against the dying sun. Bodies littered the streets. Once proud spires of the Velcran Empire lay in rubble, shattered beneath the weight of a war that ended before it even began. The human commander stood at the heart of it all, unmoved, unshaken. His war wasn't over. Because this was never about Valkyrie Prime. This was about Terra. The word sat heavy on his tongue. What had become of Earth? What remained of his people? His mind reached back into the fragments of memory that remained. A war fought across the stars, enemies that came in waves, a desperate battle where humanity's last warriors stood defiant against extinction. Then, nothing. A long silence. And now he was here. What? Oh. He needed answers. And the Velcran weren't done talking yet. The interrogation. Kaldrath, the Velcran elder who had unwittingly awoken him, sat on his knees before the towering figure. His scaled face was bruised, his robes torn, his once commanding presence reduced to a trembling shadow. The commander loomed over him, glowing eyes drilling into his soul. Terra? He said again, his voice cold as death. What became of it? Kaldrath hesitated, then winced as a metal-clad boot pressed down on his chest. I don't know. I swear, he gasped. A second later, a sharp mechanical whine filled the air. One of the commander's soldiers raised a weapon, not a gun, not a blade, but something worse. A Velcran soldier, still barely alive, convulsed as his own nervous system was hijacked, his mouth forced open to scream words he hadn't meant to say. A ruin, the dying soldier howled. A dead world. A forgotten husk of dust and stone. The commander froze. Then slowly he turned back to Kaldrath. Explain. Kaldrath swallowed hard. The war ended long ago, the elder whispered. Humanity was lost. Their worlds abandoned, their people scattered. Some say the old empires wiped them out. Others say they simply faded. A lie. The commander could feel it. His people wouldn't have just faded. His people were warriors. And yet, Terra was gone. He had woken up to an empty galaxy. The first signal. His soldiers stood silent, waiting for his command. One of them, a warrior clad in an obsidian exoframe, stepped forward. "Commander," she said, "we have intercepted signals from high orbit." A moment later, a holographic display flickered to life. And there it was. A message. An ancient distress signal. Human in origin. 50,000 years old. Yet still transmitting. Faint. Garbled. But alive. The words echoed through his mind like a whisper from the dead. // This is Captain Elias Voss of the 9th Terran Guard. If any of us still live, if any hear this, Terra did not fall. We are waiting. We are fighting. We will never kneel. // The commander exhaled. His fists clenched. His army, his brothers and sisters, stirred. Terra had not died. Humanity had not been erased. They had simply been waiting. Waiting for him. The enemy that remains. Kaldratha's breathing was ragged as he watched the warriors of legend process the message. "You seek Terra?" the elder rasped. "Then you must understand. They will not let you go there." The commander's gaze snapped back to him. "Who?" Kaldratha's throat bobbed as he swallowed his fear. "The Dominion," he whispered. "The ones who took the galaxy after your fall. They control the stars now. They have ruled unchallenged for millennia." The Dominion. The name meant nothing to the commander. But it would. "They will hunt you," Kaldrath said. "If they learn you exist, they will stop at nothing to wipe you out." The commander stepped forward. For the first time since his awakening, a grin ghosted his lips. Let them try. To war once more. High above, Velcran ships lay in ruins. But beyond the debris, beyond the dead world that had become his battlefield, the stars stretched onward, endless, waiting. Terra was out there. His people were waiting. And between them and home, the Dominion stood like gods atop a broken throne. They thought themselves rulers. They thought humanity had been erased. They were wrong. The commander turned to his army. Thousands of silent warriors, weapons at the ready. Set course for the signal. His soldiers did not hesitate. They did not question. They were human. They were war. And after 50,000 years they were awake once more. The rise of old gods. The fleet emerged from the void, a wall of ancient warships long thought lost to time. Their hulls were black as night, their weapons forged in an era when humanity still ruled the stars with fire and steel. And at their head, the commander stood on the bridge of his flagship. The signal was leading them to a dead system, a place where the Dominion had buried the last remnants of humanity's past. Beneath his feet, the hum of awakening power filled the air. The Dominion believed them extinct. They were wrong. First contact, with old enemies. "Commander," a voice crackled through the command deck. "Dominion vessels incoming. They've seen us." On the main display, massive warships flickered into view, hulking machines of control, adorned with symbols of a long-reigning empire. A transmission cut through the air. An alien voice, cold and metallic, hissed through the speakers. "Unidentified fleet, you are trespassing in Dominion territory. Power down your vessels and prepare for immediate surrender." Silence. The commander let them wait. Then, with the weight of a forgotten past pressing into every word, he finally answered. "Humanity does not kneel." A heartbeat. Then the Dominion ships opened fire. The first war cry in 50,000 years. The first impact shook the flagship, but its ancient shields absorbed the blast with ease. The Dominion did not expect resistance. They did not expect a war. And so, when the human fleet retaliated, they were not ready. The void erupted with fire. Silent warships, lost to time, came alive once more. They moved like ghosts, faster than they should, deadlier than anything the Dominion had ever faced. And when their weapons sang, they sang of vengeance. A Dominion destroyer shattered in an instant, torn apart by a single pulse of forgotten technology. A second ship followed. A third. The Dominion was bleeding. And the commander? He was just getting started. The fear of the unbroken. On the Dominion flagship, panic spread like wildfire. A dozen alien commanders screamed over comms. What are they? How are they? A human warship cut through their ranks, carving through Dominion lines like a predator among prey. One of the alien tacticians turned, fear stark in their eyes. "This isn't a lost fleet," they whispered. "This is a legion of old gods." Breaking the chains. The battle was over before it began. Dominion wreckage floated in the void. What little remained of their once proud fleet fled into the darkness, terrified. The humans did not pursue. Not yet. Because beyond the battlefield, a single planet loomed. A planet once called Terra. The last stand of the Dominion. It was nothing but a husk. Terra's once great cities had been reduced to dust and stone. The air was cold, the surface cracked from ages of neglect. But in orbit above the planet, the Dominion's last defense stood. A fortress. A space station larger than anything the commander had ever seen. And within it, the true rulers of the Dominion, the ones who had spent millennia ensuring that humanity never returned. The commander stared at the station, then at the cracked, ruined world below. Enough. With a single motion he ordered his fleet forward. The final battle had begun. The end of an empire. The Dominion threw everything they had left. Their last ships. Their last warriors. But nothing could stop the tide. The human fleet tore through their defenses, carving a path straight to the station's heart. The commander boarded it himself. With his soldiers at his back, he cut down every Dominion lord that stood in his way. They begged. They screamed. But he did not listen. For 50,000 years, humanity had been silenced. Now, they were the storm that would end an empire. And as the last Dominion leader fell, as the station crumbled under human fire, one truth became clear. The galaxy was no longer theirs. It belonged to humanity once more. Return to Terra. The battle was won. But one task remained. The commander stepped onto Terra's broken soil. He let the silence wash over him. He let the weight of time press down. And then, slowly he reached down, grasping a handful of earth, holding it tight. This world had suffered. But it was not dead. And neither was humanity. We rebuild, he said. The order carried across his fleet. Across his people. And as the first human banners were raised once more, a single message was sent across the stars. A message that would shake the galaxy. We have returned. End of section 4. After 50,000 years, humanity has reclaimed its birthright. The Dominion has fallen and Terra lives once more. But the galaxy is vast. And there are others who still believe they can challenge humanity's return. Subscribe now because the war has only just begun.